right, hello, and welcome to episode number 20 of Overheard Orlando. I'm here at Stardust Video with Conley, aka Dylan Suggs, who is a local Orlando musician who is going to tell us a little bit about expression. So, Dylan, why don't you tell me a little bit about Conley and how it came to be and how you kind of started this whole path of expressing yourself via music?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate that a lot. And it's funny that you're asking me to talk about expression when I feel like I'm probably the least qualified to do so, since I've had trouble expressing myself for pretty much my entire life. But I started performing at the age of 4. My family was very musically inclined and artistically centered, and me and my sisters and even my cousins would be performing in front of my family. We'd set up little concerts and put on our favorite songs and lip sync or sing to our favorite bands. I shamelessly or shamefully was a huge fan of NSYNC, and I wanted to be Justin Timberlake. And I'd put on their concerts on VHS. So I would put on their VHSs and I would learn all their choreographies, and I would just dance to NSYNC. The first song I performed when I was 4 was I'm Blue by FL65 on stage at my school talent show. And it was kind of just like a constant thing throughout elementary school until I moved in the 2nd grade. From that point, I kind of phased out, did skateboarding and drawing. I wanted to be an animator, and that was like where I got into art and graphic design and that kind of thing. And it wasn't until 7th grade I saw this video called Indian Thriller as on YouTube, and it was pretty hilarious because it's like an Indian rendition of Thriller by Michael Jackson. And we just found it hilarious because if you look it up now, you'll see why. It's pretty funny. But in the related videos, there was a bunch of Michael Jackson videos, and so I watched the original Thriller. It wasn't the first time I'd seen it, but I was like, oh, I haven't seen this in a long time, so I'll watch that. And then Billie Jean was in the related videos, and I was like, oh, let me watch that. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, Beat It is in the related videos. And then, my family kind of drifted off for the rest of the night because we were all laughing at the Indian Thriller thing and watching the Michael Jackson videos. But as they kept walking away, I was just clicking another Michael Jackson video. And I got really into it, and I was like, this is pretty cool. And I was just started listening to Michael Jackson music again because I used to listen to it when I was really young. So then I started learning all of Michael Jackson's choreographies just like I did with NSYNC, and I learned every Michael Jackson dance and song, and I was just obsessed with it pretty much. And then I was like, let me branch out and do some more hip hop dancing. I'm not gonna just be a Michael Jackson impersonator or anything. So I did hip hop, went to high school, got connected with a dance crew. That's when I really started performing on stage again. We did Black History Month assemblies. We performed at parties and basketball games, and in the cafeteria we'd set up speakers and just start performing. We joined the dance class, and I got really close to the dance teacher, and that was our life in high school. And I started making music by the time I was 16, producing my own stuff, just trying to see what I could do, but nothing, I didn't really know much of music theory at that point, even though I was in band and everything, but I was just learning, playing with things. And my dad produced a song for me, and it was a good song, but it wasn't what I was wanting. I was like, this doesn't feel like me. It was too pop, and I wanted something epic and more something that meant something to me. And it took me a while to realize that I wanted to do that. But so I graduate high school, start producing music, and I just start producing constantly, just trying to figure out what my sound is and figure out what I want to say. And I tried going political. I tried going romance. I tried going many different things. And my last album was actually a mix of political and some introspective type things, as I was toying with it. And after that, after I released that, I was like, okay, so I kind of figured out what I want to do with my sound, but I'm still not saying what I want to say. And I was like, how about I tackle the hardest thing it is for me to tackle? And that's things that really affect me, things that keep me up at night, things that I've had trouble talking about with people, things I'm insecure about. And because I've always been the type to seclude myself and lock myself in my room and spend hours learning some new software or playing a video game or whatever, as opposed to actually facing what's bothering me. And that's exactly what I was setting out to do with this album. And that's kind of where we are with expression. I'm trying to express myself more often.
So in terms of expressing those things that kind of made you uncomfortable, those things that you kept you up at night, so to speak, why did you feel a need to express those when you kind of went so long without expressing that? What was the point that you reached where you felt like this was something that you wanted to express, or for lack of a better word?
I think there are people in my life that I haven't always been completely honest with. And when it comes to my emotions, I'm an extremely honest person, but I neglect things that bother me to not cause drama or to spare feelings. And I just bottle things up whenever something bothers me, and then I eventually explode. And whether it be in rage or a mental breakdown or, not being able to sleep for several hours. And I realized this was unhealthy. Before I talk about things with other people, I wanted to get it out in an artistic way, if that makes sense.
This is something that I have recently, through some pretty big changes that I've made in my life, have been really paying attention to and kind of pondering on my own. But what is it about expression that you find difficult? Like, what was the fear, I guess would be the word, behind not expressing yourself? Because I know I've kind of, again, examined that in my life and have come up with a lot of different reasons for my own not expressing myself, or not releasing those feelings or those emotions, or not telling people the things that I was doing. When it comes to you, what was it that was making it so difficult to express those feelings? What was it that you were maybe afraid of, or what did you think would happen? What negative event were you trying to avoid, maybe? Or maybe it was something else entirely?
I was trying to spare feelings a lot of times. I feel like if I express what I was actually feeling at some point, that either they would be hurt, take it the wrong way, or get angry. And with a lot of people in my life, whether it be friends, my wife, I'm just always trying to not cause drama. So I would just bottle everything up, and I was just trying to spare drama. That was really the main thing. And then now it's almost like the opposite, that I still don't want drama, but I feel like the more I bottle things up, like, the worse it's going to be, because eventually it's going to come out.
I kind of feel the same. I might word it a little differently. It was always about kind of avoiding the aftermath, or the chain reaction that could potentially come after, expressing yourself, maybe expressing a grievance with somebody, or
That's a good way to put it.
or someone, or something that you would, I don't know, just those things that you're bottling up, and it could be, anything really, anything at all. So tell me, what is it like to go from being someone who for so long bottled things up and didn't really express themselves, and then going complete 180 here and bringing them to a pretty public forum? Because now anybody can go look up Conley and pretty much get all those feelings and emotions right into their ears.
First of all, that's terrifying. And I don't really know yet, because I just released this album, and I'm hoping that people may listen to it, enjoy the music, but I want people to actually listen to what I'm saying. And a lot of it is metaphorical, because I'm still afraid of really saying how I feel about certain things. So I'm still struggling with it, but it's definitely a process. I am in therapy, and I'm trying to talk about that, and we're working through it. My wife has been there, and she's supporting me. So I'm trying to just, it's still a process. So I don't know how to exactly answer your question, but I'm still working through it.
For sure. That's actually, I mean, just in this interview alone, you've been pretty forthcoming with things, and even just saying you were in therapy, which is not even really a big deal these days, but, it's still something that, you're saying potentially to a bunch of people you don't know who are going to hear that, which
Yeah.
so I applaud that. It's a really great thing. And it's good to see, someone who might see the virtues of vulnerability. And it is a really great thing once you kind of reach that point. And yeah, there will be rejections of things. People will not take kindly sometimes to those expressions or but you'll find a lot of people who relate to it and who it really resonates with. And that's really the beauty of expressing yourself as opposed to kind of just like going through the motions, which I think so many of us are doing.
Right. And I will say therapy is good.
Therapy is great.
Yes.
Not in it currently, but I have been unabashedly in therapy in the past, and I have no qualms about it. It was incredibly helpful. Can you think of a particularly positive moment that came about from being more expressive and more vulnerable that maybe wouldn't have happened if you were kind of in your old way of thinking?
Me and my wife were going through like a hard time at one point, just arguing, and she just wasn't understanding where I was coming from because I was just talking logistically as opposed to emotionally, and I finally like broke down and expressed everything that I was feeling that had been weighing on me for the past several months or so, and she finally understood, and that's what got us into therapy, and that's what like sparked all of this, after my album was already written and done, but I hadn't actually applied those things that I was working on in my real life yet. And by doing that, I felt like it brought positive change. It's brought me and my wife closer, and we have a better understanding and better ways of coping with disagreements and things. So I think that's the positive change as opposed to just continuously being angry and fighting.
Yeah, I think that it's really easy to kind of get into a point of defense and protection where you're not fully expressing yourself, and it can just become increasingly difficult every day to get to that point. It almost feels like this is what I'm feeling or this is how I am, and it's really like it becomes so normal to just internalize all that stuff. So I think it's really great that you were able to reach a point, albeit kind of a breaking point, but a point where you could kind of address those issues. And once you reach that level of understanding, it makes relations, whether it be romantic or otherwise, to a much, much, much better place. So kind of using your music as a tool to become more true to yourself, more transparent, both obviously with your loved ones and with strangers who decide to listen to your music. What do you want them to take away from it? What is like the one thing you put your emotions on this platter for everybody? What is it that you want them to walk away from it once they're done listening to it?
I don't necessarily need them to understand me any better because even though I do put my emotions out there on the table for everyone to hear, I don't need them to truly understand me. It's more of an outlet for myself. What I would hope it does is inspire other people who are similar to me to express themselves and realize that bottling up isn't helping. You're hurting yourself and you're hurting the people closest to you because they don't know what's going on. And, it just makes it harder for everyone to read you. So, it's better to express yourself, even though it may be hard.
So I guess the last question I'll ask you is one that I ask my guests here pretty frequently. What is like your personal philosophy? Like, what is like your mantra that you live your day-to-day life with? And even if it's not like a mantra, what is like your philosophy on day-to-day life? What gets you through the day ultimately when things are difficult and when things are going well?
I'd say if you have one, I would love to hear it because I don't know if I have one. I kind of distract myself all day, which I'm trying to also change. But I rarely have time to sit and think about my thoughts unless I'm sitting and writing a song. That's where I really take the time to think about things that are bothering me, because other than that, I start getting sick to my stomach and things like that. So I don't really have a mantra. So I would like to hear one eventually. Maybe that will help me get through some days.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me here at Stardust Video. Do you want to maybe tell me and anyone who might be listening where they might be able to find your music, maybe follow you, maybe download the album?
Yeah, so I'll make it very simple. I'm on Instagram at Conley, Conley music. In my link in the bio, it has a follow thing where you can get to everywhere you need. So I have all my music on Apple Music and Spotify. You can follow me on Spotify, and I'm on SoundCloud for those of you who don't have any of the main streaming sites. And then I have a YouTube channel. You can get to that through that link. So as long as you follow me on Instagram, and you can find everything through there.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you also have a show coming up. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. This Wednesday, October 21st, I have a show at the Sound Bar in downtown Orlando. Doors open at 9. Tickets are $5. You can actually find it on my Instagram page. I'll have a link to it. And if you use the promo code TOWER, that lets the ticket holders know that I sent you there, and they'll give us those stats to see how many people have gone there because of me. So be sure to use that if you do go through the website to get your tickets. And yeah, I'll be there performing, and I'll perform a couple songs, and I'd really appreciate it if y'all come out.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming. While you're on Spotify looking for Conley, you can also find Overheard Orlando on there as well. I'm on Instagram at Overheard Orlando Podcast, and you can shoot me an email at overheardorlandopodcast@gmail.com, or now I'm at Steven at overheardorlando.com as well. Thank you so much for listening, and stay true.